what's up guys, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about JavaScript loops. Let's get straight into it. Sometimes we want to repeat an action a number of times. Let's say we're trying to write hello world 5 times. One way we could do it is like this. But a better way of doing this is by using loops. There are a number of different loops we could use, but in this video we'll focus on 3 loops, which is the for loop, the for of loop, and the while loop. Let's start by creating the for loop. In order to create the for loop, we type the keyword for, we add parentheses, and within these parentheses we'll add 3 expressions. The first is the initial expression. So, to create the initial expression, we'll create a variable, which we'll call I, and then we'll assign a value of 0 to that variable. I is usually a variable which is used to represent the index, and it's custom to use I when creating this variable in a for loop. The next is our condition. So our condition is to say, as long as this condition is true, our loop will keep running. So we want to run this loop for 5 times. So we'll say I is less than 5. Then we separate it with a semicolon, and our final condition is our incremental expression. So for our incremental expression, we have to increase the value of I. We have to change the value of I. One way we could do it is by using our incremental expression, which is I++, which will add 1 to I at every iteration. We add our parentheses, and in between our parentheses, we add our block of code. So in this case, we wanted to say hello world 5 times. So we add our console log. Hello world. We save that. And when we go to our console, we can see that it runs 5 times. The way the for loop works is that it first runs and assigns a value, which is 0 in this case, to our I. Then it checks in our condition to say, is I less than 5? As long as I is less than 5, it will keep running. So if I is less than 5, it will run our block of code. Then it will come back and increment our value of I. We could check what our current value of I is by concatenating it like that. Save it. And we can see I is equal to 0, equal to 1, equal to 2, equal to 3, and equal to 4. And then when it increments it after 4, the last time, it comes back and checks our condition, and it will see 5 is not less than 5. And then we'll stop this statement. We can also use loops to iterate through an array. So for example, we have an array of names. Let's just create an array of names here. Say const names. And within our array, we have a list of names. So we have John, we have Ruth, we have Tom, we can have Mario, and we can have Natasha. If we wanted to go through all these names and perform a function such as say hello to each of them, we could use a loop. So given our for loop here, we could loop through our list of names here by simply putting to our console names, add our square brackets, and we add I, which is our value. Seeing that I starts at 0 and our array starts at 0, to start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are only going through our array 4 times. We save that, and we can see all our names appear here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going through it 5 times. So all our names from the array appear here. Now to avoid errors in which, like I just did, you did not know exactly at which point your array would end, you could use a property of an array, would say names.length. And save that. this is supposed to be names dot length. We'll save that again, and we can see we receive a list of our names. So a better way to do this, instead of using this loop, you could use the for of loop. So let me just demonstrate how it's done. You type for, add your parentheses, then you add a variable to explain each item. Usually it's like the singular of the name of the array you are iterating through. So we'll call this name of names. Don't forget our S this time. Add our curly braces, and then here we can have a console log, and the items that we're looping through are the name. Save that, and we can see we get the same result here. So we can also perform an action on the items we've iterated through. Like we said earlier, we'll say hello to everybody. So add our backtick, we'll say hello, and we'll add our $ under our curly braces, and we'll close our backtick there. Hello name. When we save that, we can see in our console it says hello to John, hello Ruth, hello Tom, hello Mario, and hello Natasha. What if we wanted to stop our loop for a particular reason? So I'll give the example of we're searching through our array for a particular name. So let's just delete that, and we'll say if, let's say we wanted to check our array to see if Ruth was in our list. So we'll say if name is equal to 3 equal signs, and we'll say Ruth, and we add our curly braces. If name is equal to Ruth, we'll send a message to our console that says Ruth is in our list. We'll save that, and when we check within our console, after it's looped through our entire array, it tells us Ruth is in our list. But if we add a console message up here, actually, if we add a message in our console up here that just says our current name, we notice that it says John, it says Ruth, then it realizes Ruth is in our list, and then it goes further to say Tom, then Mario, then Natasha. But what if we wanted our loop to stop once it's found Ruth? What we can do is to add a statement that stops loops known as break. So right underneath this, we could add a statement that says break, and we close our statement with our semicolon. We save that, and once we check, it says John, it says Ruth, is in our list, and then it stops looping. Another type of loop we could use is the while loop. Unlike the for loop, which runs for a limited number of times, like for example when you're looping through an array, it will only run through the length of an array, or as in our previous example where you give it a fixed number of time it should run, the while loop will keep running until a particular condition is met. So let's just give an example. We'll delete all that. Let's give an example of us creating a website which has a loading page. So we'll create a variable, we'll say let, we'll call this loading, and then we'll say loading will be equal to 0. Then we'll create our loop, we'll say while, we'll add our parentheses, and within here we can add our condition. So we'll say while loading is less than 100, while loading is less than 100, we add our code block. We'll say console log website is still loading ... So if I save this and run this, it would run forever, because every time it comes up here to check our current condition, which is loading is less than 100, it will pass our message to say website is still loading. Then it will go back up and check is
our loading less than 100, and because our loading is 0 and will always be 0, it will keep running this loop. So I won't run this particular loop. One way we can stop this is by changing our value of loading so that at one point loading will be greater than 100. So to do that, we'll simply say loading plus equal to 1, or we could use the shorthand we used before and say loading plus plus, which adds 1 to our value of loading. That means every time it runs, it will add 1 to loading. When we save that, we can come here and we can see that our loop ran for 100 times and then stopped. So that's how we use the while loop.
That's all I had for you guys today. Comment down below if you have any questions. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next video.